Dear all of my students for the class 343, CMP 343, which is Computer Security Principle. Let's start today with the first chapter from the textbook, which is Introduction, which the title is there a security problem in computing? It means that through our environment right now, is there a problem with the security for the computing system? Yes, there is a security problem with the computing system. When we talk about computing system, then we talk about we would like to secure our most valuable assets. When we talk about most valuable assets, it means that we plan to discuss the security for computing system. For any computing system or for any organization, we have what we call here computing system, which is the collection of hardware, software, storage media, data, and people. We would like to secure all of that component of the computing system to protect our organization, to protect our hardware, to protect our software, to protect our storage media, to protect our data and people, because all of these is the assets for the security. When you talk about security, then we have to put in mind that security is a battle between the security people who create the security mechanisms and the algorithm, who create the security policy, who create the security management to protect their assets, and against the attacker from outside. That attacker from outside, we talk in details about what we call, can be internal attack, can be external attack. The attack can be as what we call user trespass and software trespass. We will talk in details a little bit, step by step with each other about what's meant by user trespass and software trespass. Let's start here with each other by what we call the ISO standard security. We start to talk about the main three issues for security, which security services, security mechanism, and security attack. If we talk about the security services, we have the confidentiality, data integrity, authentication, non-repudiation, and access control. This is the main 5 standard security services which is coming under the ISO. We have to take care about that services. Again, it's confidentiality, which is encryption and decryption. Data integrity, which is mean that we would like to receive exactly what is sent. Authentication, which is exchange identity between the source and destination. Non-repudiation, which is dealing with the digital signature. Access control, which is the level of access of the user, whatever it's a legitimate user or authorized user to access whatever the application is. Some user can read only, some user can read and write, some user can modify, depend on the role of access control for our system. Then the security services have 5 security services. Then go with the security mechanism. It means that the mechanism is used for develop and implement the security services. When we talk about security mechanisms, simply without details in this chapter, we talk about the symmetric encryption technique or symmetric algorithm or asymmetric algorithm. When we talk about symmetric algorithm, It means that we talk about the one key used for encryption and decryption between the source and destination. The same key used for encryption should be shared by the destination or by the receiver to decrypt the information encrypted at the source. And then we have what we call asymmetric algorithm, which is used for two keys for each user. One of them is public key, which you can advertise for the whole user, and the private key, which is owned by the user. No one knows that key. As an example for the symmetric algorithm, we have simply example as a data encryption standard and advanced encryption standard, RC4, whatever, many algorithms used as a symmetric encryption technique. And as a symmetric encryption, we have what we call public key encryption, with the example as RSA, Rivest Shamir Adleman. Let's go back to what we call here the source you would like to protect. Then you have the assets. Again, you have assets, which is the collection of hardware, software, storage media, and data and peoples. And then you would like to protect all of these against what? Against threats, vulnerability, attack, and by the end you have to have what we call risk assessment and risk analysis. If you go with the threats here, then set of circumstances that could cause harm for our assets. Threats here, it means that the circumstances which can cause harmful for our assets. That circumstances, like we will see, that can be external attack, internal attack, or can be software attack. When we come with the vulnerability here, the vulnerability is the weakness in the defense that could allow harm to occur. It means that threats is the circumstance that could harm our system or our assets. The vulnerability is the way to penetrate the weak point in our system that could allow these threats to come to my system and harm our assets. Then when we talk about attack, it means that you use the vulnerability, the holes, to have a threat to our systems through software or personal attack. And then under all of these conditions, then we have to talk about the risk assessment or risk analysis, which means that we have to measure the possibility of security breaches and severity of the damage. How far our system can affect by the attack from outside, and how to recover from that failure or attack if it is happened. By the end, under all of these circumstances, we would like to control our system against the attacker. It means that an action, device, procedures, or technique that remove or reduce the vulnerability, reduce the holes that permit the attacker from outside can penetrate to our system. When we go to the security services, and we said that this is confidentiality, data integrity, authentication, non-repudiation, and access control, we have here the main three issues here, what we call the security triad CIA, which is coming from confidentiality, integrity, and availability. If you go here with the three trial as a CIA, which the integrity, which is started by confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Then we have what we call confidentiality is the encryption decryption, which is protection from unauthorized disclosure. When you have the plain text encrypted to be as a ciphertext, then you protect your information from unauthorized disclosure. Data integrity, it means that, as I said before, we would like to receive exactly what is sent, which is protection from inappropriate modification to protect our information transfer from the source to destination against the modification. Then, when we go with the availability, it means that how to make your data available, how to make it usable or reusable or accessible in a safety way. Then, when we go back here to what we call the security triad, which is CIA, it's confidentiality, integrity, and availability. We would like to keep our system against the disclosure from the unauthorized user. We would like to keep our information safe against inappropriate modification, and we would like to make our information accessible and safe for the authorized user. It means that when you have your system to be secure, may you have a conflict between how far your system to be secure and how the performance of your system. You may have a system with a very high secure mechanism, but it will be degrading your performance. Or you have a very high confidentiality, may limit the availability, the access to your system, because it's very high secure and very high confident. Then when you have our goal to secure our system, it may conflict with the system performance and the accessibility of the system. Strong integrity control may impose slowdown that affect availability. Then you can have a very high secure system, but it will reflect or conflict on the other side with the availability of your system. When we go with the attack here, like I said, then you have what we call user trespass and software trespass. Then when we talk about user trespass, it means that the attacker to your system, the user attack, that user attack can be internal attack, which is the most critical. It means that you have a user from inside had the authentication and authorization to use a system, but he may make use more privilege than he is allowed to use, which is against the policy and rules of the organization. And he may make use that information against your organization. And the attacker from outside, he tried to penetrate your system through the vulnerability or the holes to get benefit from your information. Also, when we talk about the attacker, can be passive attack or can be active attack. The attacker here can be passive attack or active attack. When we talk about passive attack, it means that there is no damage, no change for your information. Just get benefit from the information without do any damage or a change. But when we talk about the active attack, it means that we talk about the attacker who may modify your information, may delete some of your information, may damage or change your information. Then the attacking from outside or from inside can be passive attack or active attack. Then when we go with the software trespass, then it means that you may have an attack using software, which we call malicious attack, like software like virus and worms. That's why we have what we call virus detection. Then you have to protect your system against the malicious software attack by using the countermeasure. Let's go here. When we talk about the method of defense, we would like to protect our system. Then we would like to put our system as a defense against that attacker, whatever it's software or hardware. Then when we talk about the method of defense, it means that we would like to prevent harm. We would like to